everyone, I'm Allie with PotomacBeads. This video is going to be working on wire working. You're going to become a professional coiler of eye pins as you work to make this Hawaiian Tropics necklace. For this necklace, if you subscribe to the Best Box or the Best Box XL, you are going to get all the materials to make this awesome design. There's a ton of different options in your stash beads, as well as this little kit here to design and make it your own. If you do need any materials or you want to check out the box, go ahead and look at the links below to shop with us online. Gather up your pliers, your new wire, as well as some of your beads, and let's get started on this wire working adventure. So for this Hawaiian Tropics video, we're going to be working with and learning some wire working skills. We're working with 24 gauge wire to create a nice chain link effect, waterfall coming out of our end cap or end cone, and then chain linking along the design and making our own clasp. So we're learning a lot of basic skills and how to use 24 gauge wire to make an entire necklace set. You can do this with a variety of materials. I have sitting here some flower caps, some 8mm melons, 6mm jade gemstones, some maple leaf check glass, 3mm Potomac crystal rounds, and some 8OC beads. In addition to that, you have your cone, as well as you can add in, if you want to, some metal caps. You don't have to. Again, you can use pretty much anything. This is more techniques than anything. We are going to be using 3 sets of pliers, so 3 different pliers to create this design and to make and perfect that coiled eye pin, which is going to be the base of this chain link style. You're going to want a nice wire cutter, round nose, and then needle nose or chain pliers. So if you're looking for the chain nose or needle nose, you want to make sure that they're nice and flat inside and they don't have any extra little bumps in there. The round nose, you want to make sure when you look at them that those round sections there are not flat in the interior. And then also with your wire cutter, you want to make sure that it's going to cut fine wire. Have a nice flush side, which is always the side that we're going to be putting toward the jewelry. So we're working on that. When I work with wire, I'm going to be working with approximately a foot at a time, maybe a little bit less, 9 inches or so. This way, I'm not hitting myself constantly in the face or twisting a lot of extra wire and having to maneuver a lot. An inexpensive wire like this sterling silver coated, the fine silver coated, is going to not be that much of a waste if you do have to waste a little bit on the ends. It's always better in my mind to have a little bit of waste than it is to have so little that you're going to pierce your skin. We're always going to begin our wire by taking our round nose pliers, and we're going to hold the wire about an inch or so back. Holding the wire flat, we're going to turn the pliers back away from us, which is going to create this 90-degree turn in the wire. From your point of view, you're going to see this. You're going to see the long piece of wire that's going to be extending from your body and the short piece of wire that's going to be coming out kind of right from your mouth. I tend to hold my wire up. If you look over the side here where I am, I tend to hold my wire up so that long piece again is running lateral with my body, straight piece coming straight out from the back. So you're going to see this view. From there, you're going to take your shorter wire and bring it over the top till it hits on the other side. Once it hits, you're going to open up your pliers and just shift from the top jaw of the pliers to the bottom jaw. If that half turn becomes uncomfortable or awkward for your wrist, you can always take the pliers out and put them back in. The one thing that you want to make sure happens is that your wire always stays to the maximum size of the loop on the round nose pliers. If you hold it further out, you're going to end up bending up and hurting that perfect loop that you're trying to make. From here, take that short piece of wire back 90 degrees. So we started with 90, and we're going to end with that 90 degree. Whatever size you make your eye pin, if you want to, you can take a Sharpie marker and draw on your round nose pliers in order to ensure that every single loop that you do is going to have the same size. For this then, I'm going to set that down to coil, and I'm going to grab my needle nose pliers. I always say I let my man lay down in bed. I'm going to hold from his nose on his head up to his bald head, and I'm going to make sure that my needle nose pliers are not crossing over his neck. I don't want it to cross over where I imagine his neck would be because I don't want the pliers squashing the wire as it goes over top of one another. From here, I'm going to take his scarf and I'm going to coil it around his neck 1, 2, and 3 times down, almost making like a noose. The goal of your chain link or your wire working here is to make sure that if I draw an imaginary line from the base wire to the top of the loop, it's going to go perfectly into the center. Take your wire cutters now and cut that wire flat side down so that flat side is against the project, and you're going to cut as close to the wire as you can, cutting off that little tiny piece. When you're doing it, it's always a good idea to cover it with your hand if you need to, especially if you're in a room with other people. It'll grab onto your bead on a board or your mat. That generally leaves just the tiniest little bit of tail sticking up. You want to make sure that this doesn't grab onto clothing or anything, so you're going to take your flat nose pliers and just pinch that down, those needle nose. When you pinch it down, if my fingers here are the coils, you want to make sure that you're flattening out that little piece that's sticking up there and not pushing it against the side. You're going to take your pliers and you're going to push it down right over top of it, so that way it lines up with the other piece as you cut it down. You're going to practice this eye pin over and over and over and over and over and over again. The first thing we're going to do with this eye pin is we are going to start the portion of our chain that is going to connect through our cone. I'm going to put a couple beads on top of my cone here. We'll do a seed bead first, and this is my silver lined dyed lilac, and then my garnet 3mm crystal after. I'm going to stick this through my cone, and you can see that's what we're going to connect to at the top. Now I'm going to fill my cone. It doesn't really matter what I fill the cone with. We're going to make a loop after the cone for multiple things to connect. I'm going to fill it to start with a couple seed beads because I want to make sure that my smaller beads go toward the center of the cone. Then I'm going to put one of my jade beads in there to kind of hold it in place, and I'm basically filling that little dunce cap look. Then from there, we're going to use one of our melon beads, and see how that fits kind of perfectly at the bottom there? All of our beads are going to flow from there. From our loop here, we are going to create another one of our eye pin for everything to kind of come out of. To do so, I'm going to leave a very, very tiny, almost like 1/16 of an inch there above the bead. Just enough to coil like I did on the opposite side. Taking the pliers then, just like I did previously, I'm going to bend the pliers back 90 degrees. Take that wire now, which is the longer piece, over the top till it hits on the other side. Once it hits, we do that half turn of our pliers, switching from the top jaw to the bottom jaw and bringing it back 90 degrees. If you notice that it's kind of off and it's not exactly sitting the way that you want it to, don't be afraid to put it back into the round nose pliers and make sure to turn it the way that you need it to be. If this loop here is a little bit bigger, I'm actually going to force mine to be a tiny bit bigger there, that is okay, because we're going to be attaching more of our coiled loops to this to get that waterfall effect. From here, I'm going to coil just like I did previously. Fill that section with your coil there, and then once again, trim off. Now you see how it has that little tail there? Go ahead, hold, and squash down that extra little tail. Once you have that squashed down on your project, and this is the hardest part with the wire working, we're going to proceed with some little flows hanging down. That's going to be the start of your wire working skills. From here, I'm left with about 5 inches of my wire to start doing my waterfall below. What I'm going to do to start and to get my look is start from the top and start building onto the bottom, connecting some of the eye pins together for that chain link design. Same thing here, I'm holding my wire, bend my pliers back to get that 90 degrees over the top, flip from the top jaw to the bottom jaw, and do my coiled link. Prior to doing this coiled link, we are going to put the tail of the scarf into the hole of the previous loop created and click it into place there. Also, be aware you don't need to be perfect at this right away. It can take some practice and you have some wire to spare. Going in here then, sometimes it's going to be tight to hold with your needle nose pliers or your chain nose pliers. This is the only time that I will hold with my round nose pliers. I try not to because they don't have as good of a grip because you're only connecting and touching the wire at one point versus the flat point. But I'm going to go ahead and do my coils there, coiling 3 times, giving myself just that little extra that I can go in, chop down, go in and pinch that last little edge down. I find this easier to do before I put on beads, but if you want to, you can wait and just do a final inspection afterwards. That's up to you. And now I'm going to choose my first bead to hang down here. So I'm going to hang down and do a larger bead, my maple leaf, which we're going to call our Hawaiian leaf here. And I'm going to hang that down from here to give it a little bit of volume right away. After my leaf, I'll add 1 seed bead. So the pattern's not set, I'm just doing it as I go. And after I add my seed bead and let that drop down, we're going to repeat, leaving a little bit of space there above to do my coiled eye pin, turning the wire back, over the top jaw to bottom jaw, straighten it out, go in here, grab my needle nose pliers, hold from the nose up, and coil and wrap the scarf around the neck. From here, I'm going to give a little chop. Cut off that extra wire. You still have more wire to use from that initial 9 inches or so, and click down, bending that wire into place. The more wire working and chain link you have, the more movement you'll have. If you do longer sections where you really start adding in beads, the less movement you'll have. So if you have beads lined up next to one another an inch, you'll have a little bit of less movement versus beads that are separated out by these coiled links. I'm going to do 4 more coiled links in this same way, and then I'll show you how we're going to create a little stop at the end by turning the wire on itself. When you have the final length that you're looking to achieve, you need to go in and create basically a head pin and a stop. Now, you could use head pins to hold on to the bottom here, but I'm going to teach you again how to do it all with this 24 gauge wire. What I want you to do is to take a bead, it doesn't really matter which bead it is, I'm going to use my 8/0 seed bead, and instead of bending the wire back and creating your eye pin, which you can do also, it's just a different look, I'm going to bend the wire down around itself. With my round nose pliers now, I'm going to hold in there, and I'm going to create a little twist around the bottom. Twisting that wire just like we did, and instead of 3 twists, I'm just going to do 1 complete twist, so it doesn't take over the look of the project. I could have used a little bit of less wire there. Go ahead and pinch that down, and then you're going to add your bead to the top. So when you add your bead to the top then, what I suggest is push that wire, because it's 24 gauge, you can pull up, and that will kind of pinch that wire down there. Here then at the bottom, I'm going to do my turn, my coils, do that coiling link, put that wire into the bottom, and then catch on. Go in and do your turn and your coil again. Go ahead then and chop this off. Now I know I might be making that wiring and that coiling look easy. I've had years of experience, so don't be too hard on yourself if this is your first wiring experience. Go ahead and kink that in there, and then your first drop is good to go. Now I'm going to continue adding in some more, 2 more drops coming off this main loop here, and then I'm going to add some other drops coming off from the bottom drops of those 3 main drops. So I'm going to continue with my wire working, and near this bigger maple leaf here, I'll do smaller beads so that way they don't kind of conflict, that I'll do some smaller beads down coming along the side. The last thing we'll do then is, after we create this waterfall, we'll make some wire chain link going up the side to create our necklace portion. So I continued attaching, and you can see my center line there does not have anything extra attached to it. My right side here, which I did seed beads and then a crystal, my grouping there of my jade with my flower caps, a crystal, and the maple leaf there at the bottom. I then went to the first link and came off the top of the first, or the bottom of the first link, and created another link section here with just seed bead, crystal, 3 seed beads, 3 crystals. Then I went to that second link off of that and attached just one of my melon beads. So I kind of branched off is the way to think about this. Same thing on the other side. I created this long piece here of seed bead, crystal, jade, crystal, and then my leaf with my cap at the bottom. And then I came off of that second or that first link as well, dropped down 3 crystals, and then my melon there at the bottom. So it almost branches off. And you can make this as complicated, as long, as branched as you want. You can come off the additional branches that you create, make it fuller, make it sit however you want it to sit and however you want it to look. From here now, I'm going to get ready to create my sides that go along the back. To go along the back, I want my piece to hang fairly long. I want it to be about 24 inches or 20 inches to 24 inches for my side. So I'm going to need to make them 8 to 10 inches long. I have a bunch of different materials. I'm going to take a second here and clean up all my little scraps. The scraps, they're not long enough, and because it's not sterling silver wire, I'm just going to trash them. And then what I'm going to do is to create my sides. Now, I've already gotten a head start on that. So if you join me on Thursdays on Twitch, I usually work on some projects ahead of time, or even Tuesdays, and I have my design ready to go. So my design is a simple pattern of seed bead, 3 seed bead, then a link melon, then a link leaf, then it repeats the seed beads. Then it goes to the jade with the flower caps, and then we start all over. Seed beads and the crystal, melon, leaf, seed beads and the crystal, and then the jade and the cap. I continue that for 3 rotations to get about 8 to 9 inches along the side. What I'm going to do now is add one more step here where I create the link to the middle. So I have both the right and the left sides, and I'm going to create one more link and link these both to the middle in a Y fashion. So you're going to go ahead and grab your wire, and you're going to cut off another piece of your wire to use, or if you have wire that already you have some left, you can do that as well. I'm going to cut my piece of wire here off and then get ready to add that center section. If you want to, you can even add a little leaf there in the section. Actually would look really nice as well. Maybe I'll switch to the leaf. I like him there in the middle. And I'm going to, same deal, do my turnover, make my coil loop, get ready to attach to my piece that I've already created. And it's a little bit of fluff sitting there. Coil around, making my 3 coils. I'll still add that garnet there to the bottom. Then my jade colored leaf. And then here at the top, I'll make a nice link, decent size, and then you can coil it off, or if you've already created your side pieces, you can link them in. If you create your side pieces at once, it is faster to create one side, then mimic the other side, but you can do link and then link on each side. I just recommend that where you come together, have smaller beads so they don't rub up next to one another, which make it awkward at that hang down dangle. From here, I'm going to coil along the top of my leaf. And I have my extra wire here to keep going with my design. Or what I can do is get ready to do my clasp or my closure, which is what I'm going to get ready. Because again, you're just doing that pattern up the back to make it so that you have 8 to 10 inches along that back side. Our clasp will add about 1 inch when we go in next and create our super simple clasp look here with, again, all encompassing our 24 gauge wire. Before I get ready to show you how to do the clasp, I just wanted to show where I have this sitting on me. You're going to lose some of it because the green screen and green beads. But I have this sitting so that the cone is pretty much right on the top of my girls there, and then the beads are hanging down lower. I can make this shorter if I want to, or you can make it even longer with the extra wire to hang down a little bit further towards the belly. I'm going to, after taking this lovely piece here, get ready to add the clasp to the back. If you make it long enough, you can even slip it right over the head if you want to, and that would just be joining the links together in that same coiling chain link fashion. All right, we're getting ready to expand our wire working skills even more as we go in to create the clasp or the closure for this piece. If you happen to do a different pattern or design to give people ideas or use other beads, go ahead and comment below in the comment section and give your advice to other people that are watching as well. Don't forget also, you can always give a thumbs up if you want to see more wire working videos. So I'm going to be creating my own clasp. You don't have to do that. You can just grab a clasp from your stash if you want to, but I'm gonna make my own because again, this is showing how you can do everything with one style of wire. If you are wondering, you want a little bit of thicker look, you can go 22 gauge or 20 gauge wire. You might have trouble getting some of the beads through the 20 gauge, but they should all fit on the 22. I prefer 24 gauge that we're working with, just because if you do have a little bit of arthritic fingers or you have a little bit of sensitivity, the 24 is pretty easy to go ahead and coil. Now I'm going to do my first loop. So we're going to be doing a hook and eye clasp. And I'm going to do my first loop and catch on to one side of the necklace. Go ahead and coil it. And then I'm going to go in and drop a bead down onto it. I want the bead to be a decent bead so that way I can have area to hold on to as I'm getting ready. So I'm going to pick one of my jade beads and put that on the end. After the jade bead, I want to make a big loop. This is going to be what my eye pin or what my hook is going to sit into. So I'm going to make this eye pin here and this coiled loop pretty big. So bigger than we have been doing. Not only am I going to go around those round nose pliers once, but I'm going to go around them a second time. That's going to require you kind of moving your pliers and opening them up just a little bit to get that second loop in. It's going to look like a split ring. See how you have two loops there? That's going to make it a little bit stiffer to go in and attach to. Grab your needle nose pliers and hold gently because you don't want to squish down on those loops and wrap around. If you want to add a little extra to the end and you have extra wire, you can actually wrap around your bead, just taking the wire right across the bead. Coil once on the other side, and then trim off the extra wire. And now you have your loop that your hook is going to loop into. Go ahead and flatten out that extra little wire there at the bottom if you coiled over, or at the top. And now I'm going to start with a new piece of wire that's about 5 to 6 inches and give a cut. We're going to do basically the same thing on the other end, where we're going to go in and we're going to do our coiled loop. Go ahead and connect it in. Now because this necklace does not have a front or a back side to any of the beads, I'm not worrying about which side I'm connecting the loop to versus which side I'm connecting the hook. Traditionally speaking, your hook would be on the right side of your necklace, and then your loop side would be on the left. So if you do have a pendant that you're adding in, you can keep that in mind if it is a front-facing or back-facing pendant. After doing this, I'm going to do the exact same thing where I use a jade bead at the end. And now we're going to change it up a little bit. So we're going to do a simple hook. To do the simple hook, I want you to go up about 1 inch to 1.5 inches and fold the wire over itself. I usually do this with my fingers. If you want to, you can do this with pliers as well. Just go in and make that bend and then give a little pinch. So that way the wire kind of sits right next to each other. From here, take that wire, see how it's kind of lining up next to each other, the whole way down around the base here and hold right before the bead with those wires close together. Take your wire, bend it 90 degrees, and wrap around. If you want to make that match to the other side, go ahead and take the wire over the jade bead, hold on to the wire on top of the jade, and then just coil around. Go ahead and cut off the extra wire, and once again, pinch this end down. So you have this long piece of wire hanging out the end. It is doubled over to help make it a little bit stiffer. And now what you're going to do is you can grab the end of your pliers if you want to. You can grab a Sharpie marker. You can grab your beading awl, which I'm going to grab my tulip awl here. And I'm going to go about halfway into the wire, and I'm going to bend the wire back toward the bead. Just kind of pinching there. See how that's bent back towards it? That creates your hook. Go in with your needle nose pliers and just bend that back about 45 degrees. See how you get that nice hook effect? Pinch it down just a little bit so that it's almost against your bead. And finish off your necklace. So now you have a nice homemade clasp, which if you want to stiffen this up a little bit, before you do that bend, you can even wrap wire the whole way along this base here. And as you wear this, the wire will go from that dead soft wire to half hard. Your body heat will naturally kind of stiffen it up and make it a little bit harder to work with. Now you can wear your necklace. Mine is big enough, I can put it just over my head and have that wear down long in that nice kind of boho chic style for our Hawaiian Tropics necklace. As always, thanks guys so much for watching. It's so much fun to create these different designs and give inspiration, since this is one of our featured products in our Best Bead box. If you need any materials or want to check out and subscribe to the box, go ahead and click on the links below the video in the description to shop with us online at PotomacBeads.com as well as PotomacBeads.eu. Thanks again for watching. Hopefully this took some people out of their comfort zone, learning some wire working skills that are much needed and really enhance your jewelry making experience. As always, you can give a little thumbs up, subscribe so you don't miss anything from us here at Potomac Beads, and post your pictures of your Hawaiian Tropics necklace in our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy your new wire skills and creating your Hawaiian Tropics necklace.